All right. So, good morning, everybody. It's great to be here on Older Americans Month. And I'm Dinah Stevens. I'm the new age-friendly program manager here at the City of Seattle in the Human Services Department. And you might be familiar with seeing my colleague Lenny Orlov, who normally hosts these events, but Lenny is currently on an out-of-class position with a different city department. So it's my privilege to get to join us today. And I'm especially glad to be here during Older Americans Month. So just a few housekeeping items before we get going, and I hand this over to our panelists for the day. I want to make sure everyone knows that there are live translated captions available. And so we have them in 5 different languages. It's Spanish, Russian, Somali, Amharic, and Chinese. And so if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little kind of looks like a speech bubble with a CC in it. And you'll be able to click on that, select the language of your choice, and have everything live captioned for you. One other bit of tech is that we do have the ability to, or you have the ability, everyone has your own power to change the way you are viewing the screen. So you might see a large kind of PowerPoint slide right now, but you probably want to see the panelists' faces. And so you might notice there's 2 parallel bars might be in the middle of your screen, and you're able to click on that and slide the screen to make the slide smaller and the faces bigger, however you want to look at us today. So with that, I think we can get going. I would like to first start off by, let's see if I can move these slides forward. There we go. I want to start off with a land acknowledgement, and I'm new to the city of Seattle, and I'm new to both the city government as well as the city itself, and I have really come to appreciate the intentionality by which the city recognizes that we are on traditional native lands. And so the city acknowledges that we are on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish people, and that both past and present. So we will honor with gratitude the land itself, as well as the Duwamish people. You can visit duwamishtribe.org to learn more. I've done that, and I would highly recommend it. And we want to acknowledge that the Duwamish people are still here today. And so you can visit duwamishtribe.org to find out a little bit more and learn how you can get involved. So we are here today because we come together once a month to talk about a whole range of issues impacting older adults. And this month happens to be Older Americans Month. So the whole country is talking about older adults today. This is a month that has been recognized since the 1960s. And I do want to point out that the city of Seattle has recently issued a proclamation really affirming its support for older adults and older residents in Seattle, and our commitment here to making Seattle a great place to grow up and to grow old. So I'm grateful to the city council and to the mayor for making this public acknowledgement. Since Older Americans Month became a thing in 1963, our population has just continued to age. So just a couple statistics I'll share before, to just kind of set the stage before we hear from the panelists. About 12.5% of Seattle residents are over the age of 65, and this is growing. And in the greater Puget Sound region, it's growing really rapidly. So between 2020 and 2050, it's estimated that the number of older adults will rise by 85%. Want to keep in mind too that this group of older adults is more racially diverse than ever before. So it's important to keep that kind of front in mind when we talk about the issues impacting older adults. As we all know, injustices of many forms can compound over a lifetime. And I do want to just take a moment to really recognize the ways that older adults contribute. We're here today to really celebrate older adults, to honor them. The panelists will do a great job of that. But I just want to share that there are 9.8 million older Americans in the workforce today over the age of 65. That's 18% of folks above the age of 65 are still in the workforce. offering their time, their expertise, their skills. Older adults volunteer at a really high rate. They volunteer more of their time than younger people. And a lot of older adults are actually caregivers themselves. I think there's a trap of thinking that caregiving is something younger people do for older people. But in truth, 34% of older adults are themselves over the age of 58, perhaps caring for a spouse, a parent, grandchildren, you name it. So I really just want to lift that up and honor that as we kind of segue into our panelist presentations, and they can talk much more in depth about some of these things. So before I do, one more kind of order of business. As I mentioned, I'm new to the city, and so this resource was sort of new to me, and I'm really impressed that it's something the city offers. So it's called Community Living Connections, and there is a telephone number on the screen. And this is essentially a hotline you can call, anybody can call, older adults, adults with disabilities, caregivers. If you're having any kind of issue, you're wondering what resources are available to you or your loved ones, a live person answers this and can direct you to the right place. So I really encourage folks to think of this as a resource. So I'm going to now pass it over to my colleague from the Seattle Public Library. Civic Coffee is done in partnership with Age Friendly Seattle and the Seattle Public Library, and they've been incredible partners in this work. So I want to give Emily a chance to share out a couple things that the library is doing to support older adults. So Emily, take it away.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Very excited to be here today. My name is Emily Billow, and I am the new Older Adults Program Manager for the Seattle Public Library. Thank you. I help to create and run programs for the 50-plus audience here at the library and advise us on how to be best age-friendly and more inclusive for all. If you have any suggestions, comments, or feedback, my information is on this slide, and I really welcome you to reach out. We have some exciting reopening news here at the library. At the beginning of the month, we reopened our meeting rooms at all the branches for patrons to use. And what this means for you is you can now reserve space within each individual branch for things like meetings, studying, or potentially even holding events. More information on using this space and how to make reservations for the rooms and availability can be found at spl.org. And we're also dropping that link in the chat. We have opened the Spiral at the Central Library on both Tuesday and Wednesdays. So if you haven't already seen the Spiral, it's a great opportunity to see some amazing views of the city and get a closer look at the architecture of our beautiful Central Library. Plus, it can get you moving as the Spiral actually goes from level 10 all the way down to level 6. So it's quite a walk. We have expanded hours at some of our branches, and all 27 of our branches of the library are now open. So for each library hours, you can please check our website, or we are also dropping that link in the chat. The library has started some in-person programming, which is very exciting. Our author series has moved into a sort of hybrid format. So we have space for patrons to come into the person at the Central Library, and then you can also attend online. So please register if you'd like to attend in person, as space is limited. If you're interested in returning to in-person program, I would say just take a look at our calendar, which is going to also be posted in our chat, and see what's available. It also, while you're there, take a look at all of our virtual classes, presentations, and trainings, as there's some really exciting opportunities coming up. This month, we are celebrating Asian and Pacific Islander Month, Heritage Month, and we have a list of authors from all different backgrounds. You can find these lists if you scroll to the bottom of the SPL homepage, or we also dropped it in the chat. For more information on any of these programmings, our plan on reopening, and a lot more can be found at www.spl.org, or you can always give us a call. Our number is 206-386-4636. Thank you, and I'm really excited for the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Emily. Stuck again. There we go. So, and the last announcement before we get to our panelists is, I think, definitely the cutest announcement that we have. So I'm going to hand it over to Michael to share out from the Seattle Animal Shelter.
Hey there, thank you. This is Michael with Seattle Animal Shelter, and I just wanted to bring to your attention a couple of things that benefit older people here in Seattle at the shelter. One of which would be pet licenses. A lot of people do not know that pet licenses are required by municipal code, and those fees do directly benefit the animal shelter and the care that we're giving the animals, as well as services in our community like animal control. We do offer a discount program for older people over the age of 60 with a golden flash card, which we're happy to help you with. If you have any questions, give us a call at 206-386-7387. And we're also going to drop a link in the chat for our website for licensing. You do get a 50% discount with that gold card. Again, if you have any questions, give us a call. We're happy to help you out with that and talk more about how it benefits us as a shelter. I also wanted to mention our Furry 5K, as you can see in the presentation, which is one of our biggest fundraising events of the year. It's really just a fun run walk. It's non-competitive, so you can compete if you would like for the best time. I think we usually give out some medallions and awards, but if you also just want to come and celebrate with us at Seward Park, we would welcome you to come, and the link for that event is also in the chat. As well as I just want to bring your attention to all of our adoptable animals at the shelter, because there are many benefits to owning pets, especially for older Americans, and we'd be happy to find you a great fit, whether it's a cat, a dog, or a critter like a guinea pig, a rat, a bird. We're happy to help, and so we're here for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. I'm a big fan of all furry, slimy, feathered critters. And there was a great article recently from the Seattle Animal Shelter around the benefits of pet ownership for older adults. So I think I saw that popped in the chat as well. So check that out. Okay, so now on to the main event. So I'm going to hand us over to our moderator for today, Mary Mitchell. So Mary is the interim director here at the Aging and Disability Services within the Seattle Human Services Department, which also serves as the area agency on aging. Mary came to us from the Seattle Department of Finance and Administration, where she was heading up the Consumer Protection Division. And one thing I really appreciate about Mary working for her and being part of the city here is that she really leads with racial and social justice lens. She's deeply committed to the intersectionality of this work, thinking about how issues around class, race, disabilities, all intersect and impact the communities that we serve. I know not everybody always reads full bios, but I will just share that I did read Mary's, and I thought it was really fun to learn that she rides a motorcycle to and from work every day. So I'm sure that doesn't define her entirely, but just gives us a little bit of flavor into who Mary is. So without further ado, Mary, I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce the panelists and lead us in today's discussion.
Thank you, Dinah. And I will say that I am a fair weather writer. I don't write in the rain. But it is my pleasure to moderate today's panel, especially because May is Older Americans Month. This annual nationwide event inspires us to honor and show respect for our elders. It reminds us to be intentional all year long about helping older people live with dignity, free from worry, and that their basic needs are met, such as housing, utilities, food, social connections, and access to reliable transportation and high quality health care. That vision drives our Aging Network, our area agency on aging, and our community partners. Moreover, we focus on aging equity, ensuring that we lift up those who, because of the color of their skin, the language they speak, their economic circumstances, or other reasons, have difficulty accessing the programs and services they need. I'm joined today by three panelists. Kate Harkins is the Community Engagement Volunteer Coordinator at the Southeast Seattle Senior Center. Margaret Bodie is the Program Manager at the African American Elders Program, and Matt King, who is the Program Manager at Aarp Foundation. They represent organizations that play important roles in providing programs and services and/or advocating for older people, adults with disabilities, and caregivers in Seattle and King County. The 2022 Older Americans Month theme of this annual celebration is Age My Way. The theme focuses on healthy, active aging and aging in place. So, Kate, what might surprise us to learn about senior centers in general? What really goes on inside?
So it's kind of funny. I think people have a stereotype about senior centers that they're kind of um, bad, just to put it right out there, and boring. And we are absolutely the opposite. We have a really good time. We have a lot of fun. And I tell people it's kind of like a layer cake. So we have a lot of sweet fun on the top, and then our social worker is there and really qualified and cares to address some of the the more serious challenges that can affect seniors as they age. And we know those challenges have a lot of variety, and we know the fun has a lot of variety. So come on in and find out for yourself. We're having a good time, and we're having a time that's meaningful and relevant to a whole wide range of older adults.
Thank you, Kate. And it is good to hear that our senior centers are vibrant places for our seniors to be able to attend and engage and have fun. So, Margaret, your focus population is older African Americans who live in Central and Southeast Seattle and South King County. How do your programs help your clientele age in place, live independently in the homes and communities they know and love?
Good morning. One of the things I was thinking about this morning as I looked at this question is that when we let them know that I look like you, that somehow makes them relax a little bit. And we tell them, you tell us how you want to live. Tell us. We're not here to tell you how you can live in your home. And then they tell us, I want to live here till I die. Okay. So we can help you with what's possible so you can live independent in your home. Also, we're involved with your church because our population is very involved with the local church. They have family, so the family is usually there when we go out to see them. We're here to help you plan to live your life the best you can. And these are the possibilities. And they'll talk to me a little bit and we'll say, well, that's not possible, but listen to me now. These are the possibilities. We want to make sure you're successful. And that works for us. But the most important thing for them, and from my point of view, from my years of working with older folks, is that they see that we look like them. And so they feel comfortable and they're relaxed and not nervous about it. That's it.
Thank you, Margaret. And yes, it is so important that we are able to see representation and having that community network of support. So now, Matt, some people may not be aware that AARP has numerous branches, that in addition to the newsletters that many of us receive, there are sections for research, advocacy, livable communities, and much more, and that there are AARP offices in every state. You're with the AARP Foundation, which, among many services, help older people gain employment. What are the ways in which older adults contribute to the workforce? And do you think that this is well recognized by employers?
Well, thanks, Mary, and good morning, everyone, and thanks for the invitation to be part of this panel today. In workforce development, we often refer to workers who are 55 and older as mature workers, and I think it's the maturity that they bring to the workplace that employers really value. Mature workers have had decades to hone those soft skills that employers want so much, things like communication, teamwork, and leadership. Mature workers work hard, they have a great work ethic, and they tend to stay in their jobs longer, which reduces training costs and other costs related to staff turnover. Is that value recognized by employers? I think the answer is yes and no. Mature workers have a lower unemployment rate than younger workers, so employers do seem to value the knowledge and expertise of the mature workers who work for them. They don't want to lose that knowledge base, and that gives mature workers more sticking power in their jobs. But mature workers who do become unemployed are more likely to remain unemployed for longer periods of time. And AARP research found a sharp increase in reported experience of age discrimination in hiring in the years leading up to the pandemic. So while employers really do seem to value the knowledge and expertise of the mature workers who work for them, they can also be more hesitant to hire mature workers to fill job openings.
Well, thank you, Matt, and thank you for your advocacy around employment for older adults or mature adults. And that's one thing that we can't replace, right, is the experience that comes with living a full life. And so glad to see that there's advocacy around that. Now, Kate, what are some ways that the Southeast Seattle Senior Center and other senior centers support healthy, active aging? And are there older adults volunteers as well as participants?
Yeah, so those are great questions. I'll start with the first part. I think job one is to listen. So if you picture a senior for a quick minute, age 50 to 100, that's a 50-year spread, and aging happens different to all of us. So that means that we need to listen to what people want, what they need, what they find relevant, and respond that way. So we support caregivers, people caring for older adults. We support people with memory loss, but we also support fun and information, how to plan for those older years. So those are some ways. And then, yes, we do have volunteers who are seniors who help make the center go. And that's a really wonderful thing because it means that the seniors help create the center itself. They help create the programs, they help create the culture of the center, and they help make us more welcoming. So I think it was really interesting. Somebody was talking earlier about seniors and kind of the lived experience that they have. And so it's pretty a cool place to be because most people walking through our door understand so much about life. And so when you walk in as a senior, you look to your left and your right, and there are people who understand a lot. And that's really gratifying because it's good to have a place to go where people understand a lot of what you're navigating in the later chapters of life.
Thank you, Kate. And if we're smart, we will tap in and listen and learn from the wisdom of our elders. And I will also say my Aunt Dorothy used to volunteer at the Southeast Seattle Community Center. And I just remember her being so excited and energized when it was her day to go down and volunteer. So hopefully she'll be able to get back through that as we get through the pandemic.
We would love that.
Margaret, we often think of caregiving as something that is done for older adults, but much caregiving is also done by older adults. Can you talk to us about what this looks like in the African American community?
You know, I was thinking about this again a few minutes ago, is that, you know, we're very mindful of how our culture works. And older folks, they might have children in the area that will help them, but the children are very aware they have to follow the older person lead. You don't go in and tell this old person who's real frail what to do. So the family is very aware of that. So if, for example, we have some clients that have, they're in their late 90s, and they have the caregivers of that son and his wife, and they're in their late 70s. So since we have 4 clients in the household, but the older clients are very much in charge. They've said how they want things done. They've said how they want the meals done. So everybody who's in the house has to follow the lead of these older folks. You might think that they're frail, and they are, that they're demented. They may be partially, but they're in full control. And so we have this where they actually have to do exactly what mom and dad says they want done. You gotta follow their lead. And that happens in many of our homes is that that's part of our culture. We think is that the older person don't think that they're not in charge. They are very much in charge, even though you bring somebody else in the house to do the work. That person who comes in has to listen very carefully. If they don't listen to the desires of the older person, they'll fire them. They'll get them out of there real quick. And so we have to tell folks is let the older person be in charge. Don't assume that they're all old and they can't tell you. They're very mindful of what they want. And if they want to live in their homes, they have to have a say about it for them to live independently in their homes. That's it.
Thank you. And yes, that is very much true. And I believe that it's very important that we all are able to continue to have a say in the care and our food, right? And being able to age the way that we choose that's comfortable for us and in communities and surrounded by people that have been in our lives and we have loved for a lifetime. So, Matt, the AARP Foundation provides several programs and services that support financial empowerment for older adults, including your Senior Community Service Employment Program and tax-free help. Can you tell us more about these programs?
You bet. So first, our tax aid program provides virtual and in-person tax filing assistance for really anybody who needs it, but with a special emphasis on people who are 50 years of age and older. This past tax season, we had something like 25,000 trained and IRS certified volunteers helping people with their taxes all around the country. And helped hundreds of thousands of Americans file for their taxes and get those refunds that they were entitled to, which are so important. And then the program that I manage is our Senior Community Service Employment Program, quite a mouthful, so we usually call it CSEP for short. We provide paid work experience opportunities for people 55 and older who have low income. Our participants provide paid community service at local not-for-profit or government organizations that we call host agencies. They're usually there around 18 to 20 hours per week. So our participants get to earn an income while serving their community, building recent work history, which helps them build their resumes, and learning new job skills all at the same time. So it's a great way to get a foothold back in the workforce for older workers who may have been out of the workforce for a while.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you for sharing all of the wonderful support that you provide. And, I qualify for that free tax help. So I think I need to tap into AARP for my own needs. Thank you.
Look us up next year.
Yes. All three of you work with some awesome older individuals. Please tell us about an older person who has made and continues to make a difference in their community. Kate, would you like to start us off?
Sure. I'm thinking of one volunteer named Faye. She kind of represents um, a lot of the volunteers. What we find is that they take ownership over the quality of the center. Faye exemplifies that she cares deeply that we are celebrating all of our participants. So reminding me, don't just celebrate the usual holidays. Let's bring those other ones in there. Let's acknowledge everyone. And she's just going to really be sure that our programming is high quality. And if she sees us getting not as inclusive as we should be, or a little boring, or she just helps keep the level really high. She will just throw us an elbow and say, hey, what are you doing for Hanukkah? And we'll say, absolutely, we need to scramble on that. Or did you know it's Poetry Month? No, we forgot about Poetry Month. We need to jam on that. And she's really the person who helps others join with what she's doing and helps the staff stay on top of high quality programming.
That is awesome. We all need someone like that in our lives that makes sure that we are staying on top of things and not missing anything. Miss Margaret, can you share an individual with us?
Yeah, why not share myself? Good morning. I'll just say that I don't have a problem with it. because I'm an older person and I'm proud of it because I have a good life. And because of the work that I do, I'm involved with a lot of folks, most programs that serves elders in Seattle King County and across the nation for that matter. People call me from all over the country, ask me about what's available in Seattle. They have a family member here, and can I hook them up? And I say, yeah, I can hook you up. I know folks in every agency. I can, regardless of your age, regardless of your ethnicity. I know folks all around. So I think I'm unusual. I think I'm a member of the Women's League of Voters. I do voter registration. I do it every year. I'm very involved in it right now. So I want to get people out to vote. It's important that they do that. And that I'm very involved with most of the churches. I know the pastors of most of the churches that are active in Seattle because I send letters to them. In fact, I just pulled a letter out this morning. We're going to send it to all the Black pastors in the Seattle King County area to let them know we're still here. And call Margaret if you have any clients. So I'm going to stay active for a long time. But again, I think I'm a unique person myself. And so the people that we work with in the programs, they are homebound free. I'm not homebound. I'm out here doing the work. And thank God I will continue to do it to help people get connected to services whether they're young or old. I try to keep track of all these programs for everybody because people come in my program and our organization asking me about all kind of things. How do you get Children Protective Service? I know all about that, so I tell them about it. So I try to stay abreast of all the things that people will need because I know about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Margaret. And yes, you are. And let's give her flowers right now because Margaret is paving the way for all of us to be able to step our game up because Miss Margaret is definitely integral to the African American community and connecting us to resources. So thank you for highlighting yourself. All right. And Matt, how about you? Who's an older individual that's making a difference?
Well, it's hard to select one because all of our participants, of course, are serving their communities, providing community service at our host agencies. So at food banks, senior centers, thrift stores, social service agencies all across King County and beyond. And they're all making that positive difference in their communities. Some of our participants go on to be employed, get jobs with their host agencies. So I was actually at the Rainier Valley Food Bank last week and ran into one of our participants who is working there now and doing great things. And the Ballard Food Bank also recently hired one of our participants. So I know they're continuing to make that positive difference long after they leave us. I should also mention that our office is actually staffed mostly by other participants in the program. So I'm the only paid AARP staff member in our office. I've got a team of participants in the program who are trained to serve other participants. It's peer support. So everything from answering phones, providing employment specialist services, to processing payroll is done by other participants in the program who are all making a difference for their peers in the program.
Thank you, Matt. Yes, so many people to choose from. So thank you for highlighting several people. And I also just want to highlight our advisory councils. I have just had the honor of working with them. And so being able to participate on the advisory councils where they are focused in on the issues and making sure to hold ADS and HSD accountable and making sure that we are serving the community in the way that they're telling us. And also leaning in and having conversations with race. We have very dynamic, loving conversations where we can call each other in and just share our experiences. So the Advisory Council and then also the Mayor's Council on African American Affairs. Again, another group of dynamic older adults that are making sure that we are doing our job and serving older adults and people with disabilities. So I really want to highlight them, and they are my heroes and sheroes, and they are making me step up my game. So, as you know, the City of Seattle joined the AARP network of age-friendly states and communities about 5 years ago. The City of Renton joined more recently. We hope that other suburban cities in our area will also get on board, committed to making their communities a great place to grow up and grow old. For each of you, what is a way that you think the City of Seattle and other municipalities could collaborate with your organization and or with the people you serve to make a bigger difference in the quality of life? Matt, can you start us off this round?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So we, of course, are always on the lookout for great training opportunities for our participants, for organizations that can provide those opportunities as a host agency for our participants to learn new skills. So I'd say the city can collaborate by identifying city agencies that might be able to use the services of our participants and offer them the opportunity to learn those new skills while serving their communities in city agencies.
Thank you, Matt. And so I will just put it out to a team. Let's do exactly that. We will reach out to our our partnering agencies and municipalities and encourage them to get on board. Miss Margaret, what are your thoughts?
You know, I work in a large agency, and we work with a lot of folks, all kind of folks, and but also people in high places. I don't mean it to be offensive. They got to step out of the ivory tower and come talk to these folks, because we are different, and we can't put us all in a pot and think deal with one way. It doesn't work that way. And for the Black community, I can call it African American, whatever what you want to call them, they're very religious people in their right with their churches. And so if you want to make a difference, start talking to the church folks. Bring those pastors in and tell them, put them and bring them one place together, and tell them, let them know who you are. A lot of them don't even know who the politicians are. and that's changed. I've been around for a long time, and I've seen in the past. I used to know every one of them. I don't know anybody now because they're all new in the system. But they have to get out to know the folks. They got to get the community leaders. They got to know who they are, so they can hear from the voice of the people, because they're there. The church folks, the other community organizations out there, and even these agencies that are working with a lot of folks. In our agency, we have all kind of folks, poor folks, and so the staff that are working with them folks, they make a little money. And people don't think about it. So these folks who have the power, the purse strings, come out and talk to folks and see how they live, especially in Seattle, where cost of living is so high, and the staff that are working with them make little money. And you want them to do the best job they can do, well, pay them well. So I think that for the leaders to know that, they need to come into the community and not just have a community meeting. Go out and visit some folks. Go out and follow. You could actually shadow some staff going in the field. They will love it. And that doesn't happen many times, but some of these folks in the high places got to step down and see where people work and where they live and hear what they have to say. That's all I got to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Margaret has given us our charge to get out of the ivory tower and into the community. So thank you so much. And Kate, how about you?
Well, I'm going to take up Miss Margaret's thread and say that we would like to see people from city government coming out to visit us more. It used to be we had somebody in the Department of Neighborhoods who was really connected to each area, who really did a lot of outreach. And so I kind of would like to see the Department of Neighborhoods revitalized and out in the community, supporting and connecting. And then just throw us any resource that comes across your desk that you think might be interesting. Don't worry about what we'll think. Just keep throwing us resources, because you never know what we're putting together. We like to connect. We like to collaborate. We like to network, and we want your help with that. And last is a biggie. Seniors are on fixed income, and they need older adult designated housing. So everybody knows housing is an issue, but picture the older adult on that fixed income looking at rising rents. We need the city's help with that. We need older adult designated housing to be built in Seattle.
Thank you, Kate, for highlighting the need for housing for older adults, and also that we need to focus on increasing our networking and communication with the community. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. So at this time, I'd like to open up the conversation. Do we have any questions from the audience?
I do. I believe we do have some questions. I'm unable to see them, so perhaps Meg or Jillian or Geeta, could you pop in and read them for Mary and the panelists?
Hi, this is Jillian. I'm a student intern with Age Friendly Seattle, and I do have a few questions here that have come in. The first one is for Matt, asking, does your SCSEP program pay minimum wage in Seattle, currently at $17.27 per hour?
Yes, it does for participants who are at host agencies located in the city of Seattle, receive the Seattle minimum wage. Participants who are at host agencies outside of the city of Seattle receive the state minimum wage.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And I also have a question. Actually, it's a group of questions for the Southeast Seattle Senior Center. So for Kate, is your center open after COVID? Do you require masks? And do you need to be a member of the center to attend?
Okay, those are good questions. There is a myth that you need to be a member of our center to attend, and the answer is absolutely not. Joining the center as a member is a way of financially supporting the center. It does get you discounts on class rates, but I want to tell you that a class at the senior center costs about $5 plus or minus, and lunch for older adults is $3. We love to have you come for lunch, hang out with us. It's scratch cooked on site. And yes, we are in the middle of a hybrid in terms of the pandemic. So when the pandemic happened, we shut down completely, called our seniors, checked in with them, began delivering meals. And right now we are slowly and carefully reopening. We require people coming into the center to be fully vaccinated. So to be clear, that is the 2 vaccines plus a booster. And we require people to wear masks, except when they're eating lunch, of course. So we're working to keep the center safe and healthy, and we're also still delivering meals. So right now, we're doing everything, but we are very pleased to be welcoming people back safely and carefully.
Okay, thank you. Kate, I have one other question for you. For seniors or others who would like to volunteer through the center, are there specific volunteer roles, and are there requirements to become a volunteer?
Well, people should contact me directly, and what I would do is have a conversation with them about what their goals are for volunteering, and I would share with them kind of about what we're doing right now and what our needs are. Sometimes people have a weekly need to volunteer, and sometimes they want to be just a once in a while volunteer. So we try to listen pretty hard and have people's experience be really a quality experience, because once they volunteer with us, they're part of our community, and the quality of their experience matters very much.
Okay, thank you. It looks like there's another question that just came into the chat. I guess this is for all of the panelists. How do we change stereotypes about older people? There is so much ageism in the media and internalized ageism about the capabilities of older people. Does anybody want to take that one?
I just want to reflect on my process of changing me and stereotypes, all different kinds of stereotypes. So one thing I work on is checking my assumptions in the middle of making the assumption if I can, and being ready to hear people say back to me, I'm not sure that's true, or are you making a broad statement about a whole group of people? Or so I would collect phrases to reflect back to people and sort of check their assumptions. So be ready to have a conversation to help people check their assumptions about older adults and other groups of people.
And I'll also add, that just made me think, like, are we doing a good job of at the city of highlighting and sharing the great work that's being done by our advisory councils, right? Because I know for me, like every time that I'm there, there's so much like value and insight and the areas that they're passionate in. So for me, I think maybe internally we need to look at how do we highlight the work that's being done, right? And the dedication. Um, and also, I'll just put a plug that there are vacancies on the ADS Advisory Council, and that information is in the chat if you're interested in looking into that more.
So I would add a couple of things about, I guess, stereotypes of older Americans in the workplace. I think a lot of people, a lot of employers and others may think that older people can't use computers very well. Older people don't want to learn new skills. They just have a one-track way of doing things. And I'll just say my own experience interacting with seniors in this position is the exact opposite of that. I think that older people want to learn and grow and do new things as much as anybody else, because that is what, that is part of what it means to be a human being, is that we are learning and growing all the time. And I think the way to counteract the stereotype is through experience, is meeting older people who are out there in the workplace doing great things, learning new skills. And I see it every day, but I don't think your average employer does get to see it every day. So I think we all need to be messengers for that, and give older people a shot to learn, to show us that they can and want to learn new things and do new things.
Okay, thank you. I see another question in the chat. Will the city parks and rec department bring back the senior dances at the Seattle Center Armory? My mother attended the dances religiously. It was the highlight of her week.
So thank you for Dolores for bringing that question up. So we will need to connect with Park and Recreation about that, but we will definitely pass on your question and your request. I would love to see those events come back.
Okay, I have another question for all or any of the panelists. What is the most fulfilling part of your work?
I can start. I want to piggyback on the previous question. Stereotype busting is awesome. And Matt is right that getting to know somebody is a big, great way to do it. It's pretty cool, and it broadens your whole existence to get to know all different kinds of people and their perspectives, and what a gift it is to work at a senior center where people bring a wealth of experience And it's just pretty fun and cool.
Yeah, I would just echo that. I think that in my work, getting to know our participants is what it's all about for me. You know, during the pandemic, most of our participants were on paid emergency leave. They weren't going to their host agencies. And so I would speak with our participants either individually or over the phone on a regular basis, and just got to know all of our participants a little better during that period of time. And that was something, you know, it was like a lifeline for many of them. And now that they're all back at their host agencies, including the ones who work here in our office, it's the ones in our office I get to see every day, getting to know them better, getting to see what they can do, kind of facilitating the process and all the services they provide to our other participants is really fulfilling. We've got some great people in this program.
Margaret, did you want to answer that one?
Uh-oh. Miss Margaret, you're muted if you're speaking.
Okay, I want to.
There you go.
Thinking, my mind was turning around about people stereotypes about older folks. That's all I want to talk about. You know, I get tired of people telling me, "Aren't you retired yet?" I tell them, "I'm waiting on you." People in my building ask me, and I said, "What makes you think that older people have to retire? Because your mother's sick?" I'm not sick. Somebody down the street they're retired. I'm not retired. So we have this attitude that everybody, when you get older, you're supposed to retire. I ask people in my office, where did you read that? Let's do some research on that to see why people retire at 65. There's a reason why. I didn't ditch ditches. If I did, if I was climbing poles, I probably have to retire. But I haven't done any of that. And I'm still not ready to retire. I'm going to retire from one thing and go to another. I'm going to really be a community activist. I got things I want to do. I really want to be out there telling folks about what's possible. And, you know, I swim. During COVID, I used to swim 4 days a week. And I was a runner for many, many years. And because I eat right, and I share my life because I grew up not eating meat. I ate meat for the first time. I was 26 years old. So I'm very careful about what I eat. I'm a little round now because as you get older, you get a little round. But I'm able to do a lot of things, and I think we need to change. We have to change our mind, how we think about what people ought to be based on our own family, how our parents. If people are sick, they do what they have to do. But everybody's not sick, because old is not it's not a 4-letter word. So we have to rethink about how we think about old people. I think older people will do better if the young people thought about them differently. And young people, you didn't create the world. It was here when you got here. And so sometimes the younger people think they got to tell you everything. I'm not the most computer literate person, and I'll ask them. I'll ask for help when I need it. I don't have a problem with that, because they got to ask me for help when they don't know how to do something. So we give and take. So that's all I got to say, is that everybody has to change how they think about what other people ought to do based on age. That's it.
All right, Miss Margaret, and you are running circles around plenty of young people. So they need to take some notes and get some lessons from how to age actively and energetic.
All right, we have another question in the chat for you, Margaret. It's asking, what do you think are effective strategies for helping older adults stay in their homes?
Again, as I said earlier, is that we can't lump them all together. You ask people what they want to do. They have to have a say in it. Sometimes as professionals, we think we're going to tell them. We have ideas, of course, because we're involved with the things, but we have to ask them, what do they want to do? If you don't deal with the person, you've lost them already. Everybody don't want to go to a nursing home. You know, some people tell me I want to die in my house. I said, okay, how we can make that happen? How can we make that happen? If things get worse for you or you're sicker, then we have to make some changes, and I'll tell you what that's all about. But let them be the driver. You can't, as a professional, you can't be driving people's lives. They have to be the driver. Give them concrete information. And if they agree with that, fine. If they don't, think of something else that you can help them with. That's part of aging too. It's giving people things that give them hope that they got a voice, that they have a voice in their own life. You don't have to give it to them. That's all I know.
All right, thank you. I have a question in the chat for Matt, asking how has the pandemic impacted SCSEP? Has it changed the variety or amount of opportunities older adults have to engage with the community?
Yeah, well, the pandemic had a huge impact on the program when it was at its height, and continues to have an impact today. As I mentioned earlier, in 2020, we put all of our participants on paid emergency leave, and that lasted 10 months. So people were staying home, and we were keeping them engaged through activities over the phone and online. So we developed some online training that people could do. When people returned to their host agencies in 2021, not all of our host agencies could provide opportunities for our seniors. Many couldn't. And I see Kate shaking her head because many of the senior centers in particular, were still closed at that time. So we further developed our remote training options so that participants who could get to a host agency, they did. Those who could not, we provided, again, more of the training remotely. And we continue to have remote training available even now as an option, so that if a host agency, say, has a closure due to COVID or for any reason, there's other reasons that can come up, that people can just for a short period of time do the remote training. So this whole remote training thing was a new method, a new, what's the word I'm looking for, methodology for delivering our training that we've never had before, that we developed in response to the pandemic, and that I think is a great option to have available. Back in January and February, we had a whole wave of agencies that had to close for a week or 2 weeks because of COVID outbreaks, and we had that available as a backup plan. And the other thing I'd say about the remote training, again, is it's an opportunity for older adults to practice and hone those computer skills. So again, I've seen the opposite of the stereotype of adults not wanting to use the computer. I've seen older adults eager to use the computer, hungry to learn how to use it better, and the remote training has given many opportunities to do that.
Okay, great, thank you. I see one more question in the chat for, I think, all of the panelists, whoever wants to answer. One of the panelists mentioned that many older people are actually caregivers. It's such a difficult job. What kinds of resources are available to support caregivers?
I can respond to that question because there are programs that are available, folks. One of the programs that we're involved with is the caregiving program, where, of course, people that need help, that there are programs where we can actually engage them and tell them how they can get involved with the caregivers if they need somebody to come in to do different things for them. And we can make a referral for that. And it's one of the programs that we're charged with. We have to do assessment and all of that for T-Care and all of that to make sure if the clients are, if the caregivers are not paid caregivers, they can get help. If they're paid, then they're already getting help. But there are services out there to help them in housekeeping, for transportation, even for respite. And a lot of people who are caregiving, they need time away. if they really doing people who are really very frail, they need time away. So we can refer them to the respite program, and that's time limited too, but it's always available for folks so they can get away for a day to get their hair done or to go for a walk or do whatever. And that's most of the people we talk to, that's what they want. If it's family doing the caregiving, they need time away sometime just to go to the movie, to go out to eat, to do whatever. And so that's helpful that we just have to talk to the individual to see what their needs are to make sure we can make the correct referral for them to get that help there, because help is available.
Yes, thank you, Margaret. Also, community living connections is a great starting point. So if you're a caregiver or you know someone that's an older adult that's caring for someone, connect them to community living connections for additional resources and for support groups, counseling, and training.
I just wanted to chime in with a phone number. We collaborate with other organizations to strengthen the resources that we're able to offer. And Sound Generations is an organization that does all kinds of things for older adults in our community. And their direct line is 206, and I'll put it in the chat, 206-448 3110, and they have a program called Care for the Caregiver.
Okay, thank you. I see a question, speaking of technology, asking, does the library still help one-on-one with learning computer skills and other technology? If anyone knows the answer to that.
So I can jump in, and I don't know the answer, but I do know that the library has recently refilled the older adult specialist program. So you all met Emily at the beginning of this presentation, and she likely has the answer to that. So we can certainly follow up with Seattle Public Library and get that information and share on our public-facing communications.
Okay, thanks, Dinah. I have another query here about what are your thoughts on using an alternative term when asking older adults instead of referring to the word retirement? If there's an alternative term to use that anyone can think of.
It might just be person by person. They might describe it, individually. I quit my job and I'm having fun and I'm out there in the community. Yeah, I think it might be individual.
Okay, looks like I have for one last question, just wanted to ask each member of the panel, what does it mean from your perspective for a city or community to be age friendly?
I'm going to jump in with just flagging the medical providers in our community. I think that there are stereotypes. It's kind of their job to think about people in groups. Okay, this group is more prone to this, or people who do this activity are more prone to this, injury or whatever. But it's so important not to make assumptions. That's true for medical providers. It's true for everybody. And I think that's the most important thing about being age friendly is listen, check in, check your assumptions.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Either the other two have one to answer what they consider as age friendly for the city or community?
I have an issue. Well, I shouldn't say issue, but when the term first came up, when you're working with frail people that are at home, I had the question was how friendly is that? They're not able to get out to some of the social events. They're not able to do all of that. So it's almost like it's for the highly functional person, but not the frail elderly. And so that's what I thought about when this term came about, even though I was getting involved with some things, but I still thought it was for highly functional people and not for people that are homebound.
Thank you. And I love what Irene put in chat. We don't retire, we advance. That is so, so appropriate. I love that. And I also have one more question for the panelists. So can you share ways in which your organization supports aging equity or diversity, equity, and inclusion? And Margaret, would you like to start us off?
You know, I have to say, CCS has done a lot for the diversity and equity, but I think that we have to do more for aging equity, and probably other agencies as well. But in terms of diversity and things like that, we've done a lot of things. Now, for over 10 years, I was designated as being our diversity person, and we had to plan out activities for all our staff from across the region. And we would have each month, of course, it's like this is Asian Americans month right now. We would have something, we'd have a meals, and staff would come in from all over the county. We'd have a meal, we would have it catered. And for lunchtime, we would have a movie or somebody, some person from the community who's kind of for that population to talk to folks. We've done for Black History Month, we've had like Ron Sims, some other folks from the city that have made contributions. We have come talk to the staff. For that time, for Black History, we have a catered meal again for staff. And we've done a lot of things like that. Currently, during Black Lives Matter, we've done a lot of work that I'm very proud of and I've been involved in. During the time Black Lives Matter, we had, for that big event, our staff came together and we marched around the area. And it's not many blacks, but all the staff came out, all ethnic groups came out. We marched around the area and singing Black Lives Matter. I was real proud of that. And because of that, we have a project now, right in the corner of 23rd and yes, sir, we're going to have a nice replica of what diversity what it really means. And right now, if you pass by, it's down. We had people put signs of people's names on a placard like over there. We had many. The weather's put them down, but it's going to be a nice replica out there pretty soon, talking about that Black Lives Matter for this organization. And so I'm pleased with that because we're having trying to find artists from the area who will do different things. We'll have pictures of people who've been killed by the police and whoever. Their pictures will be up there. It's going to be beautiful. I've seen the replica of what's going to look like. We've had the architects come, and we know what's going to be like. So we're proud of that, but we still need more work to be done for aging equity. That's about all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Margaret, and thank you for your leadership. It's truly appreciated. Kate, what are your thoughts about aging equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I think my thoughts kind of go into two different camps. The first camp is how we as a staff strengthen ourselves to check our assumptions, learn more about institutional racism, learn more about institutional discrimination against older adults. And then the other way to think about it is what is our messaging that goes out to the community, celebrating the fact that we are 45% African American in our participants, celebrating that we have a high non-white staff percentage, and making sure all of our flyers and invitations reflect that and reflect all different kinds of people, to be sure that when you as a stranger look at a flyer for an activity, you see people who look like you or someone you know, and you feel more welcome.
Thank you, Kate. And yes, we all have to be willing to grow as individuals to be able to contribute to working together. Matt, can you share how AARP supports aging equity or diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Sure. Well, I'd start by saying that most of those we serve in CSEP are people of color, more than half, and most of those are African American. Many of the people that we serve have experienced lifetimes of those slow motion traumas like poverty and homelessness, incarceration, racism. We've done a great job in our community of creating a lot of high paying jobs and a lot of wealth. And we've imported a lot of people from across the country and around the world who have a lot of those high paying jobs, but there are a lot of people who have lived here for decades who continue to be economically marginalized. And so, we are trying to support equity by providing employment opportunity for people who have been economically marginalized.
Thank you so much. Look at where we are today and in our journey towards racial equity really warms my heart. And again, to highlight the advisory councils, the Aging and Disability Services Advisory Council and the Mayor's Council on African American Affairs, and how they're leading with race and not being afraid to ask questions and to center communities that have been historically left out. And we know that when we do that, it makes things better for everyone, right? It increases access to services for everyone by focusing on people who have been left out. So looks like we have time for maybe one or two more questions, if there's a couple more questions in the chat. And I know there's a lot of resources as well in the chat, and there was one about dancing that I wanted to highlight. So there are line dance classes, Latin line dance, and soul line dance classes available through Lifelong Recreation, and there's a link in the chat for that. A lot of great resources in the chat.
Mary, I'm not seeing any more specific questions, but if anyone else sees them.
Okay. And if we've missed any questions, we'll make sure to post them with the recording as well.
If I can jump in with a question, Matt, Age Friendly Seattle has been doing some outreach to local businesses in the area to encourage them to be age friendly. And part of that is providing discounts to older adults. But I'm wondering, from your perspective, are there other things that you wish businesses or employers would do to be more welcoming places for older adults?
As I said earlier, when people who fall into the category of mature workers become unemployed, they often have a harder time getting back into work. So I think for employers, businesses, I'd say don't be afraid to hire someone who has hair this color, because we are great workers. We want to learn and grow. We have a lot to contribute. We have a wealth of knowledge and experience. So be welcoming to older people in your workforce. And sometimes that may mean being willing to make accommodations for a disabling condition. And it often doesn't, but in the cases where it does, those accommodations are well worth making, because if you have to, I don't know, provide some kind of equipment that helps a person thrive in their job, the contributions they're going to make to your workforce are far going to outweigh the inconvenience of providing that accommodation. So be accommodating, be welcoming, celebrate the contributions and the assets of older people who want to be part of your workforce.
Thank you, Matt. And yes, and we all will be all the better for having a more rich, diverse workplace that crosses age, race, orientation. We definitely will all benefit from that.
And if I might add, sorry, just one last little comment along
Yes.
those lines. We've got a labor shortage right now. We can't afford to leave anyone behind. We need everyone. And yes, it's about age, but yes, it's about all those other things. It is about race. It is about gender. It is about immigrant status. We need everybody. So come on, let's break down those barriers.
Yes, thank you, Matt, for that charge. So I do want to thank our panelists and give you one last opportunity. If there's any additional information that you would like to highlight about your organization and leave us with, I'd like to give you that opportunity now. Kate, would you like to start us off?
I think I just kind of wanted to piggyback on what Matt was saying. As he was talking, I was thinking about seniors that I've gotten to know at our center and how, we talk about older adults have wisdom. Okay, well, what does that mean? Is that translated into like some kind of thing you put on a greeting card, or what is that? And I think I would put it into judgment. So if you're an employer or you're thinking about getting to know somebody, a lot of older adults who walk through our door have great people skills and judgment. That said, let's not group everybody in the same bucket, but living life helps you kind of get people more, and it helps you have good judgment about decision making and dealing with other people.
Yes, thank you. And why reinvent the wheel? Right? We should tap into knowledge and experience, right? Of decades of knowledge and experience and not try and reinvent the wheel.
It's right here. Yeah.
Miss Margaret.
Yes. I just want to say the African American Elders Program is out here. We're always looking for clients. If you come across somebody that looks like me and that they're frail, they need some help with resources, have them call our number. We are willing to help them get, into services. And I'm sending letters out today to all the organizations to let them know that we're still here. During the COVID, we were not able to get out like some of you. We were not able to see people face to face. But now we can. And so we'll be going out and see people and try to get them connected. That's all we want. Thank you.
Thank you. And Matt.
The decades of experience and knowledge that older people have to offer in the workplace is something that should be treasured and celebrated. Don't be afraid of gray hair. We need everyone.
Yes, don't be afraid of gray hair. We do need everyone. We have to continue to work in love and in partnership to make things better for everyone because we all are aging, right? And if we're lucky enough, we will need the services, right? And so we have to make sure that we're working together and that we're identifying like where's there's gaps in services and getting out of the ivory towers and building and strengthening our partnerships. So I want to sincerely thank our panelists today. This has been such an exciting day, robust conversations, and I know that I am the better for being able to hear from our panelists today. So thank you, Kate Harkins, who again is with the Southeast Seattle Senior Center. Margaret Bodie from the African American Elders Program, and Matt King from the AARP Foundation. And make sure to reach out to the organizations. The links are in the chat. And thank you to everyone for participating, not only today in the Older American Month program, but everything that you do throughout the year on a day-to-day basis to support older people and adults with disabilities, caregivers, and families. I appreciate you. Thank you. Be well, and we will see you next month. Dinah, back to you.
Thank you, Mary. And I'll just echo Mary's thanks. First of all, thanks to Mary for moderating the panel and for being our fearless leader here at Aging and Disability Services in Seattle. And thank you to the panelists. I found this super inspiring and energizing. And so thank you for breathing so much life into these issues and for reminding us to challenge our own stereotypes and to really embrace the process of aging in all its many forms. So thank you, everyone. I will ask the panelists if you can just stay on for 1 or 2 minutes and we can debrief together. But before I do, I'll also just invite participants who are on the phone or watching this in some other format, that if you are interested in volunteering with Age Friendly Seattle, I mentioned briefly that we're doing some outreach coming up, specifically around the Gold Card and Flash Count discounts that are available in the city of Seattle. And we welcome participants of all ages to come volunteer with us. So our email address is on the screen and feel free to shoot us a note. But otherwise, oh, go ahead, Mary.
I was going to say, and just one more plug, if you're interested, we really need additional people to join the ADS Advisory Council. You can send your information to the Age Friendly Seattle at seattle.gov, and we'll get you connected with the Advisory Council. But we need your active participation in helping to make sure that we stay accountable to serving our older adults and people with disabilities in the way that they need. So please join our advisory councils. Thank you.
Yeah, talk about a group of people who bring a wealth of knowledge to some important work right there. And with that, I'll let the participants hop off. Thank you again for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next time. And I'll talk to the speakers in just a moment. Oh, and one more big round of applause to our intern, Geeta, who is really responsible for pulling this together. And she's been wonderful, and she's leaving, she's graduating, and so this next week will be her last week. So thank you, Geeta, for everything and for engaging on these issues. And I think, hope it'll be a lifelong journey for you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was honestly a wonderful experience, and I'm really sad to be leaving, but I'm excited for, move on with my career and meet new people. So thank you for everything.
Great. Thanks all. And
thank you, everyone. I really appreciated the opportunity. It was fun.
Yes, thank you.